everyone, and welcome to today's podcast. Very excited to get into things. My name is Roberto Cellini, creator of the Sovereign Health Operator System. I'm joined today by Ethan Gonzalez, creator of his own method,
Yeah, creative the executive body reset.
and we are going to dig into all things health and performance for men and women at the highest level. It's going to be great to have his perspective. Just to frame the discussion today, the methodology that we use to help high performing men in demanding careers rebuild elite energy, physical authority, and long term health without burning themselves out or turning fitness into a second job. So, this is super relevant if you are in one of those demanding careers, specifically finance, banking, private equity, hedge funds, consulting, MBB, accounting, law firms. The list goes marketing, sales. It's really for those that are in cognitively demanding roles where they're required to produce on the highest level. They're paid for their brain power. You're sharp. Now let's get your physiology and your health to match it. So we're going to be digging in to the methodology behind the Sovereign Health Operator System. We're going to break down this system in terms of physiology first framework and really built around 6 core pillars. I
Yeah.
can't promise that they're all going to be perfectly in order because they are so intertwined, but physiology, your nervous system, sleep architecture, hybrid training, performance nutrition, and identity based standards are always on the menu and always talking with one another. So we'll cover specifically why stress and travel quietly damage and change male physiology, why more intensity stops working over time, and how to engineer energy, resilience, and output in a way that actually compounds instead of costing you down the road. So, if you are ambitious, consistent, and still feel like your body isn't keeping up with your career, this episode will give you the real diagnosis and the system to fix it.
Nice.
Ethan, how do you interpret everything that I just laid out, dude?
Yeah. So I think the biggest aspect of that is like your unique methodology behind it. Like, talk a little bit more about why this system works specifically for executive men as opposed to just all the other systems that are kind of out there.
Absolutely. So, to preface the methodology, these men are in a very unique situation that requires a, a special level of attention, particularly with how they are challenged physiologically. And I know physiology isn't a layman's term that everyone is familiar with, but it really is how the body responds and reacts to the everyday stresses that kind of we put it through. The human body is an incredibly complex organism, and these men in the roles that I outlined,
Yeah.
they're often overloaded, overstimulated, and most times under recovered. And
Mm.
there's so much information out there, a lot of it not tailored specifically to them. So the sovereign health operating system really exists to answer one question, and it's how to sustain elite output, commanding presence, and authority over multiple decades. This isn't a sprint system, it's a complete holistic plan to bulletproof these men in extremely demanding roles that challenge their physiology on very different levels than your everyday man on the street,
Yeah,
specifically these high stress, high cognitive careers. So
got it.
the system, the methodology is not about fitness. This is really an infrastructure for human performance.
Okay, sweet. Awesome. And with this, system that you lay out with these people, what does that kind of actually look like day to day for them? Like, how does somebody actually, utilize this system?
Absolutely. How the system works. Great question. Obviously, we'd like to connect the dots because there is so much that goes on with the human body. So, first and always foremost is physiology and stabilizing your energy levels and meeting them with the demands of your life. So that's number one. What kind of runs physiology? The operating system is your nervous system. So, understanding how to up and down regulate your nervous system will preserve your ability to sprint, to produce at high levels and sustain those levels. So, uncovering the nervous system, mastering really that light switch. We're going to go into each one of these in depth, but that's number two after physiology first. Number three is sleep architecture. There's a whole entire field of science around sleep. This is the secret weapon that, I mean, it's not so secret anymore. I mean, everyone is kind of
Yeah.
waking up to how important sleep is, but really kind of deconstructing sleep and architecting it well so that you're recovering like a teen, right? Those 18-year-olds that can bounce back from anything. That's the goal with that third pillar of sleep. Number four, which everyone loves to talk about in the fitness industry, is training, right? We're doing a different training. We're building capacity. We're not grinding the stone down further. You guys work a ton already. Stressful enough. This is really about building capacity to be able to show up at high levels with resilience. Um, and then, kind of training sister is nutrition, fueling your body for performance, being sharp, mentally clear, and having sustainable energy levels throughout the day, deep even into the day, is the fifth pillar. And finally, the last pillar of the program, kind of encapsulating, how the whole system works, is the identity of the individual. So many times we'd love to say, this is the workout for you. This is the meal plan that's going to change everything. But if underneath the hood, you are not aligned with the man that you want to step into and that is able to handle all the responsibility on your plate, it will never come to fruition. And even if it does, you will only be able to sustain it for so long. So hopefully that gives you a good idea. Physiology, nervous system, sleep, training, nutrition, and identity are really
Yeah.
are at the core of the sovereign health operating system.
Yeah. And with that being said, you spoke a little bit about identity there. Like, what do you kind of notice is shifting in a lot of the men nowadays, especially those who are very successful in their careers? Like, where do you feel like the match is kind of in terms of their identity and then where they are in their career?
It's a deep question, and I'm glad that you brought it up, and happy to answer it. Um, what I see often with men that have achieved really great success in their career is that it's been by way of obviously their intellect. Number one, right? They are very bright individuals that play really well when they are, there is a clear objective, right? Like these are problem solvers. Now, the game of finance, business, right? Um, at this multinational level, which is where they're playing their games, have very specific rules, right? Like your income statement, your cash statement of cash flow, correct? Like it's very textbook, right? Like the law is has must be interpreted as it is written.
Yeah.
Okay. The human body, however, is such a responsive and variable game to be playing. And the mismatch that I see with a lot of the men is that they find it very difficult and almost as if they're chasing their tail a lot of the times when they're trying to solve these things physiologically. And maybe it's not even on the front of their
Mm,
brain that it's like my physiology is kind of out of line or my nervous system is dysregulated, right?
mm.
Or my training or my nutrition isn't supporting, right, the type of work that's required of me. I find that the identity that got them all the success is not the one that's going to help them solve
Like their
the
health.
complex problem that is health and performance.
Yeah.
Um,
And what do you
you know,
find in their health and performance kind of shifts over time? Like what starts to degrade that starts to kind of add on weight, add on a lot of cognitive load, or maybe even shifts their hormones? Like what sort of patterns start to shift over time?
yeah, you start to see that degradation, right? Because when you're young in the industry and you're hungry and you're out to prove yourself, you have a buffer. A lot of these men also did very well in sports, right? Like it was probably a pretty strong piece of their identity that got them into Ivy League schools and whether it was Division 3, Division 1, or Division 3 sports. Um, they use or they kind of ride out that athleticism, that strength and conditioning, the
Yeah.
structure that was provided into their working years. And out of the gate it doesn't seem like it's that big of an issue, but obviously the underlying um, landscape, right, that the physiology, right, you mentioned, brought the hormones up,
Yeah.
those, they don't, like, there's not this one day where it's like, oh my god, like something is catastrophically wrong. It's this slow tide that keeps rolling in with their new lifestyle and the health on the back burner that you said, it leads to those cumulative pounds over time. It wears on your nervous system, right? This is frequently you see burnout, right? And that's what's preventing a lot of the guys that I kind of see, in the earlier kind of the age demographic that we work with,
Yeah.
like the 30s, the mid 30s. This is when they kind of stall out in their career,
Mm,
right? Like they don't have the oomph, right? They know all the stuff. They
yeah.
know how to produce a DCF, right? The pitch decks that they're creating, no problem, right? Like, but it's the presence underneath that spark and energy and the authority, right? The posture that
Yeah.
kind of slips away.
Do you notice that a lot of the younger men that you're working with are not, it's kind of like a counteracting thing where the younger men are not energized enough to get the presence that they want, and then the older men had the presence and now are losing it. Is that kind of the thing you're seeing with a lot of the men?
Yeah, I think I mean, it's on the button,
Yeah.
really, because it it you kind of captured, the the generational kind of divide of nervous systems, right?
Yeah.
Like the youth kind of are they expect certain things, so they're a little bit further laid back, and then the older generation said, "Oh well, we grinded and we kind of laid it all out there to get where we got, and for that reason, now they're starting to get
Yeah.
there now." So they're on both ends of the nervous system spectrum, um, and it's super important, whether whatever stage that you're at, to master that system inside of your body. And I'd be happy to kind of walk you through the analogy
Sure.
of how we like to think about mastering the nervous system. um, I alluded to it already a few times, but it really is this light switch. Okay,
Mm.
it's a central system that governs, you know, impulses. It's always sending signals and messages throughout the body to move, to think, etc. And this light switch has two states. One of
Yeah.
which is the one that we're all familiar with as business owners, founders, investors, bankers, consultants, right? It's the fight or flight. It's the
Mm.
sympathetic nervous system. We see a lot of sympathetic overdrive, a lot of highly stimulating work. There's a lot on the line, right? It's not menial, right? There's consequences of action, so you have to be fully dialed in. It
Yeah.
is that dialed in state. So that's on the one side. On the other side is the rest and digest state, or
Mm.
also known as the parasympathetic nervous system. This is the one that's often overlooked with executive men, right? It's that from the moment they wake, it's whether you're checking the stock market, whether your boys are blowing you up for your fantasy football. It's just all things that really that kind of drive this a little bit of fire in you, the alertness. And so the analogy, coming back to it, the light switch, right? We have up and down. We like to think about it on a dimmer, right? It's
Mm.
not only fight or flight, it's not only rest and digest, but true mastery of the nervous system is when you're able to change the brightness on command. And this is one of the most powerful things in the world. We can go back and think about like some of the best athletes in the world, the best performers.
Yeah.
These men and women are not one rep maxing
Hmm.
every day. They're not full blown sprinting every day. And you ask yourself, okay, why are they not going 150% every day? And it's because of how taxing those activities are on the nervous system. So if they figured something out to perform on the highest level at the Olympics, on the national levels,
Yeah.
they value the balanced and regulated nervous system because they can't produce at the highest level if they're always frying, and taking and taking and taking and trying to produce. You've got to have strategies in place to be able to dim it down. And
Yeah.
fastest, the fastest way that everyone has access to, that everyone knows of, is something that we've been doing the entire time that we've been talking.
Mm.
I can calm myself down if need be at any moment,
Yeah.
just through breathe, through the breath. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a big piece. There's a lot of somatic work that can be done, um, that can really help you when it comes down to alleviating that fight or flight response that you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of work that can be done in those points.
Absolutely, absolutely. And some things that are less kind of commonly associated with kind of heightened state of arousal or travel.
Mm,
Like travel is the biggest one, and especially for men, that kind of have reached the point where now they're representing their companies through
yeah.
travel. Um, they kind of get to a point where it's very comfortable, right? They feel at ease traveling, but that's one of the sneakiest
Mm,
ways where it's still up regulating your nervous system, right? Because humans weren't meant to be put 30,000 feet in the sky. As calm as you can feel,
yeah.
there still is a level of, is this thing gonna land, right? Also, the barometer or
Pressure. Yeah.
pressure, right? Like that alone, like your body wasn't meant to be 30,000 feet in the sky. That's a stressor that, okay, yeah, maybe it doesn't seem like it's having any impact on you, but hey, uh, stuff is happening on the physiological level. So that's
Yeah.
one I know that everyone um, overlooks, a lot of the men that I work with. And just being taken outside of your routines is right. You
Yeah.
don't know exactly where the food is going to come from, although you do, but on a primal level, that's a little bit
Hmm.
of a stress.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think a big thing too with the travel is the dehydration that most people don't realize that they get. Dehydration, the change in the time zone, the sleep pattern changes. There's a lot that happens whenever someone goes to travel, whether for vacation or for work, whether it
Hmm.
be for fun or for actually something serious, right?
Yeah. Yes. I think this we could segue into sleep,
Yeah.
um, because it makes sense, right? Like nail on the head. Yeah, like travel disrupts your strongest performance enhancing drug, right?
Yeah.
It's the strongest PED that's available to everybody. So by way of traveling, yes, you are going to have some sleep disturbances. So you have to put some simple rules in, at least to protect and be able to down regulate well, to maximize the time that you are in bed.
Mm.
So
What do you
it's
typically
it's a
have
careful.
Like,
Mm,
what do you typically have clients do to improve their sleep? Like, what are some habits that you put into place for them that help them with the issues that we're talking about?
yeah. um Sleep is one in the 30 minutes before and after you're coming out of the event, right?
Mm,
Like, and one thing that precedes any strategy with optimizing sleep is getting the mindset around sleep where it has to be.
okay.
Because one of the biggest limiters of men that have a lot on their plate and have high expectations for them to produce real good work
Yeah.
is that they think that they can sacrifice sleep, right? Burn the midnight oil.
Yeah.
Um, I'll sleep when I'm dead, right? I mean, it's heartbreaking is that the most successful people on the planet, right, regardless of industry and gender and whatever, are those that not just respect their sleep, they they protect it with their life.
Yeah.
One of the greatest quotes that I've heard is become a PhD in sleep
Mm,
because it's that powerful. You need look, if you aren't in a place to exercise that level of bandwidth, right, to be able to unpack how important sleep is and put some structure around those 30 minutes before, you're going to bed, and after you wake up, I mean, this is what you and I do. This is what we think about all the time. This isn't a pitch, right? But I'm saying you have to be self-aware enough of what ultimately determines success.
Mm.
And if you don't have the time, oh, well, I bet you've got the resources, right? And you and I will be the first to tell you how important it is to invest in yourself,
Yeah, of
right?
course.
Because if you want to go far, yeah, you can go alone. Or excuse me, if you want to go fast, you go alone. But if you want to go far, you better bring some people inside your circle that are far beyond your level of expertise in different areas. Because you're going to go
100%.
through a long and hard trial and error period that may not even work,
100%.
right? I went I went in, but it really is the truth.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of people nowadays who will, come to the assumption of, okay, I've figured out every other area of my life. I can try it on my own. I can figure it out. But the truth is like, if you're 40 years old, right, and you've been trying it on your own for 40 years and you haven't gotten there, it's probably not going to happen. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but you probably don't know what you're doing, right? And that's okay, right? That's why you get help in other areas of your life, whether it be, hey, you have a chef, hey, you have, people working under you, right? You're not going to manage all the projects yourself. You're going to hire help so that you can get other things done so you can be more productive at the thing that produces the most for you, right? And so that's why you optimize your health so you have the energy,
Exactly.
you have sleep optimized, all these things so that you can be in the best position possible for yourself and for your family.
Mm. And I'm sure you see it too with those that you work with,
Yeah, of
the
course. With
ones
women,
that
yeah.
really are able, yeah, the ones that are able to take the next step in their career are the ones that take themselves and take full ownership of their, their health, right? Their overall vitality,
Yeah.
that's what separates, because everyone's smart. I mean,
Mhm.
look, you're in a role where you're smarter than most, but at that level, everybody is pretty freaking smart,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So it's like you've got to be putting every chance on your side to continue to self develop,
Yeah.
because at a certain point, unique value, there's only, I don't want to put a cap on unique value, because the markets are
Mhm.
constantly evolving. So you can certainly have an edge there, but it's about having the mental faculties to not just do it for 1 week or 1 quarter, right? Like where you're lights out, right? You're
Sure.
freaking on the ball, you're sharp, you're moving projects forward, you're making incredible decisions, you're communicating at the highest level, what's most relevant, and you're building relationships. Oh my god, dude, we can go so deep into how health and vitality and energy influence client relations. Like, that's
Of
where
course.
deals get done.
Yeah.
Oh, and if you're the sad guy that is tired from traveling across the country, you you ain't getting the deal. No, you're gonna get the guy that's local, and he's sharp and he's feeling good. But the bar is so low, like for just power and energy, that it's just so close. And
Yeah.
that's why you and I are so passionate about this, man. It's a separator. Health is
It
the
is.
separator in the
It
long.
is. And like you're saying, it's kind of that duality as we were talking about where it's like, the older people have what the younger people want, but they don't have the energy, and the younger people should have the energy, but they don't even have the energy either. So it's like they don't have
Mm-hmm.
the energy and they don't have the presence either. They don't have anything, right? So
Mm-hmm.
there's so much work that needs to be done for them. So if you're in one of the senior positions and you show up and you're out of breath, you're just stumbling over your words, you have that brain fog, you're frustrated all the time, and there's a younger guy who probably costs less than you do, right? Probably can do
Mm-hmm.
it for less. Who do you think they're probably going to pick? The person who seems more intelligent even though you have more experience. Or on the flip
Mm.
side, if you're the younger guy and you got to compete against the older people who have more experience, are probably valued higher than you, then you have to show up in a different way or you're just going to be completely overlooked.
Yep.
I mean,
Yeah. That really accurately um, explains, yeah, where kind of like the barrier or the biggest hurdle is for each of those populations, and the answer is the same in both cases.
yeah.
It's dialing in. I mean, I can run through the pillars again, right? Like your physiology, your nervous system, your training, the nutrition, the sleep, and the identity, right? Like these, unfortunately, have become so discussed. They've been kind of beaten down like a dead horse, like so much on the internet that people are jaded to how important they are.
Yeah.
And what I think is missing with a lot of the discussion that's happening online is how these pillars, and some people cut them up differently, that's just the way that I
Sure.
like to
Yeah.
think about them, are not six or however many different, they're not separate strategies.
Yeah.
They are so biologically intertwined that if you go out and you try to solve your exercise training program,
Yeah.
yeah, you might feel good. That's like a short-term validation dopamine boost. Like, oh, I got a new workout program. I'm on a new work. I'm doing a new diet.
Yeah.
In isolation, if you're not fixing everything underneath, you might as well be pissing away your money
Yeah.
because, yeah.
The way that I
Uh,
always describe it to like the clients that I work with is like if you do a quick fix, it's kind of like building a house on sand, right? You're setting up this nice, beautiful home by all these cool little gadgets and
mm,
gizmos about these workout programs or this
mm,
diet or whatever. And it's going to crumble away because you don't have the actual foundation built, which is like you're talking about the identity,
mm,
your hormones, your sleep, your recovery, all the things that people
mm,
talk about, but nobody actually does, right? There's a difference between like, there's a term, and
mm.
like, I don't know if I want to say it, but like, it's something mental blank, right? Some people might get that.
Yes, yeah.
But the point is like there's so much information out there, and I think the key thing that people are forgetting is like information does not equal implementation. Just because you
Mm,
watched a YouTube video, just because you watched this podcast, just because you watched an Instagram reel, doesn't mean you're actually getting closer to your goals. You're probably actually getting
mm.
further away. Because guess what happened during that time? You wasted it. Nothing actually changed, right?
Yeah.
So the only way that you're going to get to the goal is by actually doing things differently, taking a different
Mm,
action, right? Putting a foot
mm,
forward, right? Going in the right direction, right? As you're saying, everything's intertwined, right? So for
mm,
some people, like we've talked about, not everyone can do all the things all at once, but you do need to have a
mm.
system and a strategy that does everything, not just one of them.
Yes, I could not agree more. Right,
Yeah.
this overwhelm of information, it just causes analysis paralysis. It's I would say that, and the ego as the enemy are the two horsemen that are at the gate that are preventing people from making a committed change and truly changing the trajectory of their life.
Yeah. And talk about ego as the enemy. Some people might not know what that means.
Yeah, it's a really strong book written by Ryan Holiday.
Yeah.
Um, that I mean, he, he's a philosopher and he studies philosophy and the Stoics, and ego or pride
Hmm.
is the antithesis of humility, right? Um, And ego, if we were to kind of deconstruct it further, is this, you know, idea of self
Hmm.
that we, project in our own minds, right? We believe we have the answers. And it's not, there's no fault in the way that you're thinking. It is
Hmm.
a manifestation of kind of all of the experiences that you have in your life. And you have a lot of evidence, especially as a successful man, that you
Yeah.
can figure things out. But the unlock is putting the ego aside, right?
Mm.
And stepping forward and getting a trusted expert advisor in an area that is so deep and rich with information.
Yeah.
Like there's only three markets in this world, right? There's health, there's wealth, and there's relationships. If you've mastered wealth, right, and your relationships are okay, and you haven't solved health for you, your unique circumstances and everything that's participating in how you feel on an everyday basis, to do that on your own, you better have a part-time job.
Hmm.
You gotta have
Yeah.
20 weeks, if excuse me, maybe 20 hours a week, over 20 weeks, if you want to really not just understand what is the most important things, but then two, putting them in play in your life. Like, there's so many things you could choose from, and your situation is so freaking unique that knowing what to do is not even half the battle. It's
Yeah.
knowing how to pick the right thing at the right time.
Definitely.
So that's unpacking ego as the enemy.
Yeah. And I think a small piece on that is really like education is always a learning game. You'll never learn enough, but on top of that, the best people always invest in education in every field, right? So as you talked about relationships, as you talked about money, as you talked about, your health, all three of these areas are probably the most invested into areas, right? Whether it be top level athletes, whether it be people who are very financially successful, they get a trainer, they get help, right? It's something that's very common for people to do. So I don't know where the assumption comes from of like, I need to have an ego that I know everything and I can do it all on my own, right? Just because you've mastered one area doesn't mean you mastered everything. And it's literally like day to day, everyone has a coach in every single aspect of their life. Everyone has help, right? So it's not a bad thing ever to get extra help in those areas. I think that's a big issue that people have.
I like that point. Um, I like that. I was so in tune, and I was about to jump onto something specific you said, man. It's my first podcast. I hope you guys are loving it. I hope you guys are getting value. Da, 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 da.
Yeah.
um, yeah, but I don't think there's really kind of
Yeah.
a topic that we haven't covered. So I'm comfortable leaving it at this, unless
Sure.
there's something last thing that's pressing that's on your mind.
No, I think we're good. Yeah, this is good for a first one for you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think, yeah, appreciate it. I'll leave like you all with a closing remark. If there is just one thing I want you to take away from this, it's that your body is not some side project. It really is the infrastructure that the rest of your life is built on. And as Ethan mentioned, do you want to build the rest of your life on a grovel of sand, or do
Mm.
you want to build it on a firm, strong, resilient, longevity based foundation? Um, and just to kind of tie it back into how we got into all of this wonderful
Yeah.
stuff that we talked about. This is the way that I think about things, the lens that I talk about them through with my program, the Sovereign Health Operator. It's becoming independent and becoming a full blown owner of your health, your physiology, and everything that goes along with it, where you reach the point that you're not, driven or working off of motivation. You're not trading off, tomorrow's clarity for today's convenience.
Mm.
It's this gentleman, the sovereign health operator, is one who installs standards. He runs the methodology. There's evidence-based frameworks that he's working through to make calculated, intelligent decisions. And he treats really energy, recovery, and physical presence as non-negotiable for performance. If this resonated, don't take it as inspiration. Look at where your system is leaking energy. Look at where, overstimulation or excess intensity is masking any imbalances, and start thinking in terms of systems instead of brute force and effort. Because the goal isn't to just win today. It's really to stay sharp, composed, and dangerous for decades.
Yeah.
That's what it means to be the sovereign health operator. And I appreciate y'all for listening.
Awesome. Appreciate you guys.